Well, we're live in the garden in Lincolnshire this evening, and that's brought to you with the support of Cobra Garden and King Seeds. Well, hello and welcome to Pots and Trowels, and thank you for joining us for our live programme here from the garden in Lincolnshire. It's been a beautiful day today, been sunny, but a little bit breezy, just a little bit of overcast now, which makes it really pleasant to be out here in the garden. So whatever you're watching us on, thank you for being with us. We're going to answer lots of questions, so if you've got any comments or you'd like a shout out, then whatever you're watching us on, please do send that in to us. And our team behind the camera, we've got Jill and Sean. They will deal with that.
Yeah, we're here too.
As well as drinking lots of coffee and eating biscuits and just generally messing around while I do all the chatting. So coming up this evening, because we're going to be with you for 5.5 hours. No, we're not going to be with you for that long. But what we're going to be doing in the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to be having a wander around the garden to see what's happening here. So starting, we're going to look in the vegetable garden, see how that's developed. We're going to have a look in the greenhouse to see what we're growing on there. We're going to look at the garden at the back, which was only planted basically a year ago, just to show you how that's coming on and how it's changed. And we're also going to answer lots of your questions, and we've got a special guest coming up in a short while, a friend who works for the BBC, very keen gardener that I've now known for a few years. He's very enthusiastic. So I think to start with though, we're probably going to answer some gardening questions, because you've been sending us loads and loads of gardening questions over the last couple of weeks, so thank you for that. They are literally from all over the place. I think we've even got some from the other side of the Atlantic, and we've had so many questions. If we can't get round to them all this evening, we promise we will answer them on the podcast, because as well as our weekly YouTube channel, we also do a weekly podcast also called Pots and Trowels, so we will definitely answer them. So thank you, and if you've got any comments, as I say, send them in to us tonight. We'd like to know that you're there. Give us a little wave or something like that. So have we got any questions then, folks?
Yeah, we're going to start with a question about a rhododendron. Picture was taken last year. Cut out the worst affected parts, hoping it would recover. The whole plant is now affected. It's a mature plant, at least 5 feet tall, 6 feet in width, growing under the shade of a large magnolia tree. And guessing it can't be saved, but 2 questions. One, should they attempt to dig out the roots? This is Pauline Seymour. And could whatever's killing this affect other plants in the garden? Garden faces west, thanks in anticipation. Okay,
and this is in Lancashire, I believe, isn't it? So this is in Lancashire, which is normally quite a wet part of the country, isn't it, on the west there? And rhododendrons do grow very well there because they like the moisture. It's got these rolled leaves. I mean, we can see it on the screen at the moment. They've almost curled a bit like a cigar shape, and then we can see behind it, it's got some really healthy. So it makes me think of 2 possibilities. One, that can happen if the plant gets waterlogged in the winter and the spring, and the roots just basically rot off, and it causes the leaves to curl like that. The fact that it's got some healthy growth would imply that only part of the root system has been damaged. So normally when they get to that stage, they don't unfurl and go back to a normal healthy leaf. So I would cut those stems off, cut them back. They may be dead, they may be brown, but cut them back into green wood. Might be worth just cultivating very shallowly round. They've got shallow roots, so not deep digging, but just trying to get a bit of air in there, and hopefully that will encourage it to make some new growth and it will recover. So fingers crossed. If it does die, then you've got to dig it out, of course.
Thank you, Mark. Do you want another question?
Yeah, no, let's have another one. Yeah.
Well, we've got a question about holly, and here we go. How to support this holly tree with new growth, but it's got infected leaves. This is from Anna and Kendall.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I can see it's got some nice green foliage on there, but it's also got some that are quite yellow. They do get a bit of like a leaf spot on them. Like we get a black spot on roses. Sometimes the leaves will go yellow and you get these fungal spots. There isn't anything really you can do. I mean, the bulk of that looks quite healthy. And the other thing that we need to take into account, that although hollies are evergreen, at this time of the year in June, they naturally have a drop of leaves. So any old leaves do go yellow and fall off. So anybody with a holly tree in their garden at this time of the year, you'll get a sea of little yellow leaves that have dropped off. That is perfectly natural. Might have started a little bit earlier this year because it has been particularly dry in lots of parts of the country. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. The fact it's making new green leaves is positive. It looks a little bit sort of straggly in a way, and I think the only way to sort of support it, because it should be self-supporting, is to potentially, I hope the team are agreeing with me on this one because I can see they're listening.
Absolutely.
In the background, is to potentially do a little bit of pruning. Now this is not the ideal time to do it, but maybe you could take the tips out, I suppose. But if you wanted to be a bit more ruthless and prune it back to a shape, I would do it ideally next year in early spring, and that will promote new growth. You could prune into old wood and it would bush out. So I think a little bit of pruning back, tidying it up, will encourage a denser, thicker habit instead of it being a bit sprawly.
Okay, so we've got one from Andrea about a Philadelphus. And first of all, she said, thank you so much for the great videos and podcasts.
Thank you.
Really
Thank you. That's
them.
very kind of you. I'm glad you mentioned that.
So her Philadelphus, she's planted it in a westerly facing position and in the part shade of a larger prunus in her neighbour's garden. It's several years old and has now become very leggy with a little bit of top growth and very little foliage near the base.
Okay.
It is starting to flower again, but these are quite sparse, and she's in Solihull in the West Midlands.
Okay. Well,
slightly acidic. Will this help? Slightly acidic, not particularly heavy clay soil. I know, but that's important.
No, it is very important, Mrs. Fish. You're absolutely right. I mean, no, Philadelphus aren't that fussy really in the soil. They'll pretty much grow anywhere. And this looks like it's one of the fairly vigorous ones, probably Philadelphus virginal, the one with the lovely double centered flowers, and they can get to be quite big. So this is how they grow. I think what you obviously want is more growth from the base, and can everybody see this picture, Sean? If I can see it on my little monitor.
I'm really hoping
you're hoping they can see this.
Please, I'm not doing my
can somebody
job.
just let us know that they can hear us and we are going out? Yes, as we can see, it's got sort of woody stems from the base and all the growth is on the top, and ideally you want some more growth from lower down to make it a denser, bushier plant. Similar to the holly in a way, you can do that by pruning. So again, now isn't the time to do it. Enjoy the flowers, and then next winter, early springtime, then what you can do is to cut maybe 2 or 3 of those branches quite hard back, and that will sort of stimulate growth from the base and it will fill in, and then the following year cut another couple back. So over the period of 2 or 3 years you're rejuvenating that shrub completely, and you'll get a much denser lower shrub, so the flowers will be at sort of head height instead of up there in the sky.
Good stuff. Well, we've got another question coming in.
We have.
Yeah, it's from Rebecca.
It is
Becky.
from our friend Becky in North Yorkshire. She's got an evergreen shrub in the front garden which has developed a bit of a problem. It's been in situ quite a long time and is protected by a stone wall. It is dying back in places, and some of the leaves have been eaten. She thinks it must taste really good, but she hasn't tried it. She's cut off the damaged areas and the stripped leaves, but it's still not looking healthy.
No, it doesn't look very good at all, does it? Something's had a really good nibble at that. It looks very much from I'm looking at it on the picture here, Becky, it looks very much like a viburnum tinus, which is a lovely evergreen shrub, and it flowers sort of spring and also again in the autumn, small clusters of sort of whitish pinkish flowers. They are prone to attack by a pest called the viburnum beetle, which didn't used to be in North Yorkshire, but it has gradually moved its way up country and it is virulent now. And I know from when we lived in North Yorkshire, a friend of ours who I think you probably know had one in their garden and it was attacked quite badly. And what it does, the little beetle lays its eggs, grubs hatch, and then they munch on those leaves. And in a severe attack, it can almost defoliate the shrub. And very often, if you've got a bad attack of it, there's a smell coming from the shrub. It almost smells as if something's died underneath it. It's quite an obnoxious smell. So it looks like that. There's not an awful lot you can do. I mean, if you wanted to spray, you could, but I don't really know if there's any insecticides that would be particularly ideal for doing that. So I think it's a case of, again, feed it, prune it, they grow from stumps. So if you were to cut it hard back, it would grow. But there's a chance that the viburnum beetles will come back year on year. So if that is the case, then you might need to think, get rid of it completely, dig it out and plant something different. So maybe you could plant something, if you wanted an evergreen like Portuguese laurel, or probably something like a Photinia, which would give you that lovely spring growth as well.
Okay, we've got one or two shout-outs coming in
Shout-outs?
on YouTube. Yes. So from Hargrave in Suffolk, they've been a long-time listener and have never seen us before. So they were looking forward to the event. So hi there,
All right, hello.
Hargrave in Suffolk.
Thank you very much.
Anna Jones says hi. Angela Giblin says hello from Doncaster, and our friend Justine Dixon as well. So she's got a shout-out as well. We've got time for one very quick question.
I think we have, yes.
This is from our friend Muddy Boots, who we chatted to on
Right,
the podcast
yes.
a little. Yeah.
Hi, Nigel.
He has a Hebe, and I'm going to say this wrong, a Hebe Mete, M-E-T-T-E. It's just been planted in his border.
Sounds
it's in
lovely.
full flower and growing well. How does he prune it and keep it compact very quickly?
Right, well, I must admit, Nigel, it's not a cultivar that I'm familiar with. So, I mean, with Hebes, they don't need a lot of pruning. Some are more compact than others. But if you are going to do any pruning, do it while it's still young, because if you let them get old and cut them back into old wood, they don't like it. So usually it's just a light tidy up. You could do it after flowering. You could just tip it back, but don't go into the bare old wood. Just take the tips off. It gives it the rest of the summer to make a bit of new growth, and then it will flower on that next year. But don't go too heavy-handed, because they just don't like it. So good luck with that. Right, well, thank you for watching, everybody. We've got loads coming up, but I think what we're going to do now is just take a 1-minute break, and then we're going to pop over to have a look what's happening in the greenhouse.
The Pots and Trowels team are gardeners making gardening videos and podcasts. You can watch our how-to videos for free. You can listen to or watch our podcast for free too. Not only do we talk to experts from specialist nurseries to bring you masterclasses in different plants, but we give you sneak peeks into gardens across the world, explaining step-by-step terms how to get the most out of your plants, be they decorative, produce or indoor. The team have worked together for years making video content for TV, for big gardening brands, and we love sharing what we know and having fun while we're doing it. If this sounds like something you're interested in, simply subscribe or follow on whatever platform you prefer. We're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, even TikTok, though we're still working that one out. If all of that sounds complicated, just head on over to potsandtrowels.com, where we put links to the videos and podcast episodes and have all the details to get in touch. Why would you want to get in touch? Because we answer your questions too.
Right, oh well, thank you for coming to the greenhouse, Sean. I wondered where you were. You seem to be hanging around over there. So just thought we'd have a quick look in the greenhouse. So we've got all sorts of things happening in here at the moment. We've got the tomatoes. I think we've got a tomato question coming up a little bit later. So we've got the tomatoes here. I've got mine in these self-watering pots here. So they take the water from below and then it goes up by capillary action. So that's great, these are. If you're going to be away for a short while, then these will keep your tomatoes watered and fed for a while. So I'm just doing a little bit of tying up. It's important that you keep them tied to the canes. And the other thing that you must do at this time of the year is, well, all through the growing season with them really, is when you get the little side shoots developing like that, we just snap them out and they come out really easy. If you don't take them out when they're that size, within about 3 days, they're as big as that. So it's really important that you keep on to them. Ours have done really well this year. We were a little bit earlier put them in because the weather's been so mild and we've had so much sunshine. And we've actually got the first little ripe one down here. This is a little orange cherry tomato, so I'm going to give that to Mrs. Fish for a salad tomorrow. These are Jill's, by the way. She's into her Sarracenias, these pitcher plants, North American plants, and these are amazing. And we've got a couple of friends that grow these waxwicky plants and Hampshire carnivorous plants, and these are absolutely fascinating plants. They feed on flies and the flies are attracted. There's a nectar around the rim there and it's like a narcotic and it makes them go a bit woozy and they fall into there and then they're digested, and that's what feeds these plants. These grow in bogs where there's no nutrients, and we've watched the flies get in there and just go dizzy. Really, really interesting to grow. Hardy, can be grown outside, but we're going to plant them up into sort of like a little bog garden. I think, well, Jill this is her little project, so she's into her Sarracenias. We've got a few peppers growing. Peppers are doing nicely. This is a nice little dwarf one that we're growing for the first time called Paragon. So this is a really compact one for containers, just starting to flower. So we've got the promise there of some fruits to come later on in the season. So nice little peppers on there. And then we've got, this is going to go outside. This is a fig, and it doesn't do very well in a pot. So I've come to the decision that it might do better outside. So we've got a sunny wall just down on the front garden. We're going to plant that there, and hopefully that will fan out and do really well. So this side is pretty much edible. We've got the tomatoes, we've got the peppers, we've got the cucumbers at the back growing there. And on this side, we keep this fairly ornamental, and it's where I raise all my new plants. There's not a lot in at the moment. So we've got some young plants that I'm just raised from cuttings and various bits and bobs. So it's my little mini nursery. And then a range of different houseplanty type things that we've got here. Do you want me to open that window a bit more for you, Sean? Peeking in. You need to get a longer lead. Your cave. So just a few little stock plants and things. And then further along, come along here, Sean. I've got the little pelargoniums there where Sean's just walking by outside, which he's not looking at. Some more pelargonium stock plants just inside here. So I'm just sort of bulking up these young ones to plant some in containers, and then a little bit of veg to go in the garden. So we've got the brassicas that will be going out in the garden very soon, and you'll be having a look at the veg plot. We will soon. And the leeks, these have done really well. These again will be going out into the garden next week sometime. So it's all happening in the greenhouse. I spend ages just pottering around in there, and even if you've only got a tiny little greenhouse, there's loads you can do. And don't think it's too late to start sowing seeds, because certainly on the veg side, all the salads can be grown at this time of the year. We can still be growing dwarf French beans, we can be putting carrots in pots. So there's so much you can be sowing now to enjoy them as fresh produce later on in the season. So I think we're going to do a few more questions in a minute, so I'm going to go back and I'll join you back at the table. Right, I'm back here then now. Apologies, I'm told that there was a bit of a sound cut out there, so I do apologise if you lost the sound a bit on that. I don't know what it is, gremlins, that's what happens on this type of thing. So I've just been showing everybody your Sarracenias, Jill, in the greenhouse, your new love plant.
They are. They've been munching those flies, so I'm very happy.
She watches the flies go in. It's quite horrific, really, to see that. And Jill says, what are you doing? I'm just watching a Sarracenia.
Fascinating.
There's a fly drunk and it's just about to fall in. So have we got any more questions then? Any more come in?
We have.
Otherwise I'm going to have to sing if nothing's happening like that.
Yeah, we got a question here. Hang on a second. This is from Pauline at Breezy Point.
Oh, right. Now, Breezy Point is in...
Oh, New York.
New York.
New York. Here we go. Right, so I need some help with my Bramley apple tree. The tips are dying off. Oh no. There are a few 4 or 5 branches affected. I can't see any infestation of bugs. The fruit has set nicely and looks like it will be a bumper crop. So we have a very wet spring again, so lots of growth. Okay, there's another section to this, so bear with me. They just put out the codling moth traps a little late, but had to order them. I'm so very grateful for your weekly garden job tips and information. Brilliant help. Your avid listener from the bath in the Sunday morning. Yes,
I know. Okay. I wonder how many other people listen to us in the bath. It's probably the only one, Pauline. Well, thank you for the question. Yeah, I mean, the pictures don't look that good, really. It's certainly nothing to do with the codling moth. And for people that want to know what codling moth is, or codling moth trap, this is a codling moth trap. So I've just taken this out of our Bramley apple, which is the big tree sort of behind me. I don't know whether Sean can pick that up on the other camera. But codling moth is essentially, if you've ever had an apple and it's got a maggot in it, that is the larvae of the codling moth. So what you can do is hang these traps up at this time of the year, and it attracts...
Sorry, I was trying to show them the apple,
I know you are.
There's an olive tree.
Oh, is it? Who planted that there? These trap the male moths, so it breaks the sort of reproductive side of them. They can't breed, so these are really effective, and that one's got to go back in the tree. But I think back to your Bramley with those brown tips, it could potentially be disease. Sometimes when apples get mildew, they go brown and crispy like that. Mildew is a fungal disease. Can be a problem if the tree's a little bit stressed, so it might have been very wet, or it might have been very dry or very hot. So I don't know what weather you've been having on Breezy Point. And then if the foliage gets moist, and loads of plants get powdery mildew, I mean clematis get it, fuchsias get it, apples get it, lots and lots of plants. This mildew grows on them, and the powdery mildew causes the leaves to go brown and distort, just like yours. So it could be a little bit of powdery mildew on there. It might also be a bit of sun damage, scorch. I mean, certainly where we are in Lincolnshire, we've had a very, very sunny 2-3 months, more sun I think so far this year than we had in the whole of the year last year. So it's been very bright, and that has stressed some leaves. Some of our leaves have gone a bronzy colour, which I think is just the young foliage being soft and tender has had too much sun on them, and it's caused a little bit of damage. If the rest of the tree is fine, then I wouldn't worry about it too much at all. I would essentially just prune any bad bits out like that. Those brown leaves will never go green again, so you might as well get your secateurs, snip them off, then all the energy will go into the rest of it, and hopefully you'll get a fantastic crop of Bramley apples.
Okay, we've got a question from Anna in Kendal coming up. She wants some help with this plant in the garden and would like to know how to revive it. It's looking a little bit poorly with some dying leaves, but with a bit of new growth. She has cut a lot off already.
Well, I'm not quite sure, Anna, what it is. I'm just trying to have a closer look at it. It looks a little bit like a pittosporum leaf, and I'm wondering if it's a variety called Tom Thumb, which is quite a compact one, and it has lovely bronze leaves in the winter, and then they go green at this time of the year. In fact, there's one in the border. Will remind me to have a look at it, Sean, when we go and have a look around the garden. So I think that's what it is. It looks in a bit of a poor state, I'm afraid. I mean, you could try trimming it. Don't know how long it's been in the pot. It looks like it's got very drawn, it's got very leggy. I'm wondering whether it's either been too dry or too wet. Could it have got waterlogged in the winter? Although pittosporum like moisture, they sort of grow in Australia, where New Zealand rather, where they get quite a high rainfall. They also like some sunshine on them, and they don't want to be standing in water. So it looks very stressed. So I would check the compost, make sure it's not wet and soggy. If it's not, then give it a good feed. So a liquid feed would be ideal, or a bit of new compost with a bit of mixed fertiliser to top dress the pot. And I think what I would do, even at this time of the year, I would give it a bit of a haircut, and hopefully that will just encourage it to make some bushy growth. I think if you don't do that, it's going to get worse, and then you'll get to the point where you're going to throw it away. So I would go in there with the secateurs, feed it, and try and kickstart it into some new growth.
Okay, we've got another question. This is from Robin Nottingham, and it's about a lawn, and they are having an extension by the sounds of it. We're raising the level of our lawn up to a new extension patio. Should we remove the existing turf before adding new topsoil to raise the level, and what are the preparations? So is that the way to approach it?
Yeah, I mean, there's two ways you can do it really, Rob. If you've got a good lawn, it's a really good quality lawn, you could lift the turf, and we have no idea how big an area this is, but you know, if it's not too big an area and it's good quality grass, then you could lift that, put it to one side. You could bring in your new soil, build it up to the level that you want, rake it nice and level, firm it, and then lay your turf back. But you've got to be able to cut your turf off nice and evenly, because if you cut some that's 2 inches and some that's 1 inch, you're going to have a lawn that's all over the place. So if your lawn isn't brilliant, then you could literally just sort of fork that area over to break up any compaction, leaving the grass there, and then top it up with new soil, get that level, and then buy some turf in, and that will all be uniform thickness. Roll that out and you'll have a really nice flat lawn. The grass underneath, the old grass, the fact that you've forked the soil a little bit and broken it up, it will just die because it's got no light. It will actually add organic matter to the soil, so it's not going to do any harm. And remember, if you're doing that at this time of the year, you've got to water, water, water. Turf dries out unbelievably quickly. So if you are doing it and it's still very dry like it has been, you know, I would water the ground first when you prepared the soil, put the turf down straight away and then water it again, and hopefully it will be fine. It'll make a lovely lawn.
Okay,
right,
we've
another
got
one
or two more shout outs. So, but from overseas. So we've got Randy who's saying hi from Lincoln, not Lincoln UK as we are, but Lincoln, Illinois. So,
Oh, wow.
So hi from Randy,
Yeah.
and then also Henry who's in New Jersey. So he's watching us
Hi there.
So
Right.
hi to both of you.
What time is it there? Do we know? I mean, it's earlier in the day, isn't it? Because we're
about lunchtime. Maybe
about lunchtime. Okay, yeah. Sneaky look at
nice lunch.
lunchtime. That's good. Thank you for
And
watching.
then very quick one from Angela. When did you sow your leeks? Because hers are quite a lot smaller.
Okay, they were well. They will tell me on the label, but I think I did them.
We can't go back in
We
there.
can't go back in there. The cable's
No,
not long
sounds
enough,
good,
is it?
yeah.
I think from memory they were sown about probably mid March, something like that. I was a little bit later this year. I normally do them early March, and I think it was a couple of weeks late, so probably about mid March. They were slow to start with. I always find leeks frustratingly slow. You think, are they ever going to grow? And then they get to that point where they suddenly go for it. And in the last couple of weeks, they've really thickened out and have got to the size for planting out. If yours are in plugs like that, what I would suggest is giving them a half strength liquid feed, because the fertilizer will have run out in the little plugs. So I would give them a feed and you'll be surprised it will give them a boost. But we've got time to plant leeks out for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. So they will catch up.
Okay, great stuff. Well, we've got a question here. I've got to try and work out who it's from because I've messed up. Oh, it's from Tina in Liverpool. Hi, Tina. Go on, Jill, you read it.
Okay, so Tina wrote last year about some dwarf patio fruit trees that was lost in transit for a good few weeks. But two out of the 3 trees survived, and the pear is doing really well this year. On the dwarf apple, she's seen some little fluffy bits developing since the start of the growing season, which seems to be making the tree ill. She's been trying to manage it by physically dabbing off all the bits with cotton, but that's quite hard work, isn't it, Tina? The apple tree isn't doing quite as well as the pear, despite being almost the exact same location, either sides of our front door, which is east facing. Is it because of this infection? Is there anything I should be doing to help this tree? They are in Liverpool.
Okay, right. Well, I remember when you very first got in touch with us when you'd got these trees, and I'm glad they've survived and they're growing, so that's great. A woolly aphid is what you've got. So those little fluffy bits that you can see is a pest called woolly aphid. And although it looks like cotton wool or sort of candy floss, that's their protective coating. It's like us wearing a wax jacket. It protects them from the elements, and it also stops birds getting them as well. So if you were to delve in there with your little cotton wool bud, there are some little aphids in there, and they to say they're on a tree, they're really good because they can suck the sap through the soft bark. And if you leave them, they multiply really, really quickly. You'll get sort of like warty growths on the tree, and it just spreads. I mean, on a big tree, it doesn't particularly do a lot of harm, but on a young tree like yours, it would really set it back. So you do need to control them. And I think there's been more this year. We've got some on the Bramley apple a little bit. So the 2 ways I get rid of it is, one is when I get the hose pipe and get it on a really strong jet of water. If you've got children or grandchildren, this would be a great job for them to do. Just literally blast it off. It doesn't get rid of them completely. Obviously the ones that you wash off will probably disappear into the soil, but there's always going to be one hiding, and they breed very quickly. But if you do that on a fairly regular basis, you know, every week or 2, blast them off, it really reduces the numbers and stops the damage. The old-fashioned way, and I'm not sure whether it's recommended by people nowadays, but what they used to do in the olden days, and even I can just about remember that, is they used to get some white spirit or methylated spirit of some sort. Somebody actually told me you can do it with gin, but I think that's just a complete waste of good gin. So a spirit of some sort, dab your cotton wool buds in and then just rub that over them as well. And it's the methylated spirits that actually burn through that waxy coating and kill them. So it's fine on a young tree like yours, but on a tree like our Bramley, then Jill would be up there for days and days doing that. So have a go at that. But it's woolly aphid if you want to look it up and research it a little bit more.
Okay.
So have we got time for any more questions?
Well, I'm just going to say it is 2:30 in New Jersey
Oh
at the
my
moment,
good
2:30 in
night.
the afternoon.
Oh, right, good. So, yes.
Henry's obviously having a lazy lunch and staying
Okay.
with us. We've got another question which is coming up. This one is about a cornice, a white cornice China girl, and it's only flowering at the top. This is from Linus in Carmarthenshire in Wales.
Nice pronunciation.
Thank you.
Well, it sounded good
It's off
to
the
me.
top of my head. Should they cut out or prune the branch on the right of the picture, and when?
So that's the one on the screen now, or just, yes, it's got
Yeah.
a branch going out at a bit of an angle. Yeah.
One of the few that is, it's one of the few that is flowering. It's at least 8 years old, and the area around the base has been kept clean. Also, the other cornice, Miss Satomi, does this need pruning?
Okay, well, China Girl is the white one, Satomi is the one with a pinkish bract. So they are in flower, or the bracts are formed at this time of the year. So certainly on the white one that's just gone off the screen, which is the China Girl, I would take that branch.
That's my fault. I set this on auto and it's just cycling around, so I can't stop it.
I thought you were doing it just to fool me. I would actually prune that, and I think you could do that at this time of the year. It will balance it up, because I know they're growing naturally, but I think we still need to do a bit of what we call formative pruning just to get the shape that you want. So I would get my secateurs, trace that back to a side branch and cut that out, and I think it would just instantly improve the shape of it. So that's fine. And then I think, did you ask about taking some of the lower branches off as well? Then yes, you could do that certainly on both of them. Very often with age, the lower branches will sort of die as they get into more shade, but you can just snip off some of the little side shoots. So you're not cutting out the big thicker branches. As you've got a branch, you're taking out some of the side shoots to almost clear stem it. So it gives it a bit more structure at the base, clear stems, and then you've got the growth on the top.
And I should just say it is raining in Carmarthenshire at the moment.
Oh, is it?
Just had a weather forecast.
Is it?
From our viewers. So,
well, thank you. Yes. I mean, I think we've pretty much escaped it. We've escaped the rain for so long. We keep being forecast rain and it never gets to us. It rains out. We haven't had any rain, substantial rain, for months. It is very dry.
I think if you keep talking at this rate, Mark, we'll probably get some on this show.
Do you think? Yeah, well, it could be. All right. Cheeky people.
Well, no, I wanted to say, because we've got another cornice question.
Oh, have we?
So I think it
Yeah,
might tie
okay.
in a little bit. So
Right,
this
let's
is from
do that
Andrew
then.
in Lancashire. I've attached a few photos of cornice cousa, is that? As
Yeah.
I'm a bit concerned it's not happy as it should be. Bought the plant and planted it last year, but this year it only had 2 or 3 bracts on it and the branches are not as upright. Any thoughts? When I planted it, put plenty of well-rotted compost in the hole, new build house, mulched all the beds with plant grow, all of the plants are growing well. So I suspect on reflection the ground is compacted as a construction traffic used to go through the area, which is now our garden. Would this make sense? Any other ideas?
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, to me, to say it's obviously a reasonably good sized plant you put it in, because you only put it in last year. It looks okay. I think it's still getting its feet into the ground, to be fair. It's establishing. I mean, I know you've been in touch with us before about other trees, and the ground was compacted and it was quite clayey. They're not ideal plants for heavy clay, but the more you've done to improve it, the better it will. I think it might be one of those trees that take 2 or 3 years to sort of get its roots down properly. I wouldn't worry too much about it looking a little bit droopy, as long as it isn't dry. That's the thing. Make sure that it's got moisture there, but not wet and soggy. So give it that little bit of a drink round there, and I think it'll be fine. I mean, we've got one. You mentioned it's only got 3 or 4 bracts on it. We've got one which again you can't see because it's just over there, which is a similar size, and it's not had any bracts on it. And I'm not worried. I don't mind if it doesn't have bracts on for a few years, because I think it's establishing. So I wouldn't worry too much. Just check it's not been too dry, or if you have been watering it, just check that the clay soil's not holding on to too much moisture and it's getting waterlogged. But it might just be a bit of stress, because again we've had some pretty hot dry weather. So hang in there with it. Okay. So if you've just joined us, thank you very much for joining us here on Pots and Trowels. We are live. You may wonder where we are. At the moment we are sitting in our garden in Lincolnshire. It's just gone 7:30 in the evening. It's been a beautiful day, a bit of cloud now, and it's just cooled down a little bit. But we've still got other things to come. We've got more questions. We're going to be meeting our special guest, Ross from the BBC. But before that, we're going to have a quick look around the veg garden. Well, the veg garden where I'm now, we're going to have a quick look round. We only started this 2 years ago. This was really the first part of the garden that we did when we moved here. And I wanted the vegetable garden to be on the front, which is a bit unusual, but it was the perfect place because it tucks away here at the side of the garage in this corner. But it was really overgrown, just a broken old path in there, bit of a lawn and some big laurels and a big tree in the corner, which sadly we had to have taken down. So this was the place, but I wanted to make sure that it was divided from the rest of the garden. So that's where this border here came to be, which is my row of apple and pear trees growing as cordons, as vertical cordons here. So these have been in now just about 2 years. So this was one of the first borders that we did after we'd put the raised beds in and the gravel path. And these are growing up. And the idea is as these develop and we spur prune them back a little bit each year, which we do later in the summer, they will gradually get a little bit wider and eventually form a hedge, a fruit hedge, which I'm calling a fredge. But rather than just have a row of apple trees like this, we thought we'd also plant either side of it. So we've got sort of cottagey garden feel in there. So we've got lupins, we've got veronicastrums, foxgloves, some evergreens in there, nepeta and various shrubs, so that there's a bit of colour and interest all through the year. But then my side here is where we've got the real veg garden. So let me have a little walk round and show you what we've got. So not a big veg garden at all, but we've got the 4 main raised beds where we grow a variety of vegetables, of which 3 of them are part of my rotation system. So in this first bed, we tend to have roots. So we've got early potatoes, we've got beetroot, parsnips, and carrots there under the netting to keep the carrot fly off. The beds around the edge, we plant a mixture of all sorts. So we've got a bit of fruit in there. We've got dahlias for cut flowers. One of the things on this is a little step over that we're training. Notice this year we've had a lot of aphid damage on, and I've had a few people ask me about it. The aphids get in there and cause the leaves to curl. In fact, there's a ladybird in there having a little bit of a munch. So we don't spray. What you could do if you wanted to, I'm going to leave that one because there's a ladybird, but if it's really distorting them, you could just cut the tops off and get rid of those if you want to smarten them up, and they'll make more growth in there. But I'm going to leave the ladybirds to just munch away. Sweet peas here, not quite as far advanced as the ones we saw at King's a few weeks ago, but look, I've got some little flower buds there, so I reckon in another week, 10 days, we'll probably get our first picking of sweet peas off there. This bed is the onion bed. So self-explanatory, we've got leeks in there just planted, we've got onions, shallots, garlic. Garlic won't be ready for about another month to 6 weeks. And I also put a little row of dwarf French beans in there, and then rhubarb and other things again around the edge to fill these odd shapes. Very proud of my runner beans this year. Normally I don't plant them until the end of May, when we can get frost in this area of Lincolnshire up until the end of May, but it was so mild and warm this year. I planted them out in early May because I'd got the plants and I was worried they were going to get leggy, and they've done fine. A few cold nights but no frost, and we've got the first flowers on there and a bit more fruit planted in here. But I also grow a few cut flowers which are dotted through the garden, and I love Sweet Williams. It's a real old-fashioned cottage garden. I remember my grandma having these, and they make great cut flowers because they last for a long time. This bed here is not part of the rotation, so this one has the asparagus in at this end, and then I just fill it with any bits and bobs in here. So there's a couple of courgettes growing away, and I think the plan is, although we've had quite a lot of asparagus off this season, I think the plan is we're going to plant another row just to give us a little bit more. They've done really well. We're picking 2-3 times a week, and I watered a couple of days ago, and I think these have doubled in height in the last 48 hours. These are plenty big enough. We normally try and pick them before that stage. So we've got about another week or so of picking, because traditionally the time to stop cutting your asparagus is the 21st of June, and here we are today on the 12th of June. And then in here we've got the peach tree. The peach tree, this is the second attempt. The one we planted last year as a bare root one didn't grow. So this is a new one this year that I got from Frank Matthews. It's Avalon Pride, doesn't get peach leaf curl. It was a maiden and I cut it back to this point here. And then it's made all this side growth this spring, which I've just started to tie in to create the frame. And then the blueberries live in the frames in the summer just to keep them nice and contained. These are in pots in ericaceous compost, fed once a week with a high potash. You've got lots and lots of fruit on them, and this will swell. This is usually ready about August time, and as soon as it starts to ripen, we make sure we net it to keep the blackbirds off. And the last bed, this one here, is the brassica bed. Not got much in at the moment. It's got the summer cabbage, pointed cabbage. We've just taken out the last of the spring cabbage, and within the next couple of weeks, I will be planting the colettes in there, the kale, the winter cabbage, and the savoys. So that will be our winter supply of brassicas to keep us going. So just a bit of a whistle-stop tour there, and it just shows that you can create a garden in just a year or two. It doesn't take forever, and it will get better with time. There you go. So that's a quick look around the vegetable garden, and to think it's only 2 years ago from now that we started to plant it, it's done all right. So we've now got our special guest with us, and this is Ross Carrick from the BBC. Carrick, not carrot by the way, Carrick from the BBC in Lincoln. And Ross is a producer with the BBC, but he's also a very, very, very keen gardener. We met through gardening on the radio. So Ross, the gardening side of it, because that really was your first love, wasn't it?
It was. That was what I spent all of my time as a child doing, and they all thought, what's all this about? But I've stuck with it and I absolutely love it so much that is what I went and studied.
Yes, so you went to college in Lincoln.
Yeah, Riceholme, for those that know the mainly agricultural college, but did do horticulture when I was studying there a few years ago now. 2 years there, and just a fantastic time. It was really, really good.
So how did you go from that and then to being in radio? You know, why did you not follow the horticultural path?
The million-dollar question. So literally, no word of a lie, my college course finishes, and the same week, I'm doing some kind of ad hoc radio at the time, just fill in here, there. And the week the course finished, I got offered a job in radio, and that was 11 years ago now, and I've had various different jobs in radio ever since. But if I'm not at work doing radio, then I can guarantee to you I'll be in the garden doing something, trying to do something.
And long term, would you like to get back into horticulture one day, do you think?
I know me and you have spoken about this before, and I'd love to do what you did and be a nurseryman and have a nursery and grow my own plants. I've just got this real interest in particularly seasonal stuff. I love summer bedding. Planting up hanging baskets is one of my favourite things to do. I absolutely love it, and every day I look at my hanging baskets and I can just see them filling out a little bit more, and I can just see them trailing a little bit more, and I think, oh, I love it so much. So yeah, I'd love to do that.
Do it, if you want anybody part-time to work for you,
I will have you. I will have you.
Me and Jill will come and work for you.
Yes, please.
Because you do a lot of gardening, as you say, when you're not on the radio doing broadcasting or producing. You actually look after the garden where your mum lives, don't you?
Yes. So when I lived at home, always did the garden, took care of the garden, much to my mum's delight. Moved out, but moved into a flat, which obviously doesn't have a garden. So for my own love of gardening, and also for my mum's pleasure, and meaning she doesn't have to do it, I still do the garden there. But me and my other half are actively looking for a house, which my mum is well aware of. So as soon as we do find a house, not only will I stop doing my mum's garden, but I'll start moving pots. I'll start digging things up, and my mum will say, "What's all this about?" I say, "I'm sorry, I did warn you."
Poor mum, she's going to have no garden. It's going to be robbed off her. So, well, I hope you do. Hope you and Eve find somewhere that you can create your own garden, because I know that's what you want to do. Are you happy to answer a few questions with us?
I'll try. I'm no Martin Fish,
Well,
but
we're going to go between us.
yes, I'm learning from the best.
Okay, thank you very much. That's so kind of you. Have we got any questions, you two?
Well, we have. We've actually had one just come in on YouTube from Josh, and listening to what Ross was saying. Josh has actually been a maintenance gardener for quite a while now, but would like to move away from that into other areas. Have you got any advice to give him?
Right. Okay. So maintenance gardening, but he wants to stay in horticulture. Well, I mean, I suppose there's always, Ross's dream of having a nursery. If you like growing plants, Ross, that's one option, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, even I think in this day and age when times have changed and you don't get as many old-fashioned nurseries as there's still some fantastic nurseries out there.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to, take the plunge, and like I'd love to, and Josh, if you want to do the same,
yeah,
to bring a few new into the market would be absolutely fantastic.
And I think old-fashioned nurseries, the traditional specialist nurseries, there's a market for them. I think if you can get a piece of land that you can rent or something like that. I mean, the other option is to maybe go into maintenance gardening, but maybe on a private estate house, something like that, rather than going around lots of clients, get a job as a head gardener on a nice house or something like that. But there's teaching opportunities, there's all sorts of things that you can do. It's a huge area. So whatever you do, good luck with that. Any more questions from you?
We have indeed, yeah. We have Val from Nottingham who has a tree peony. It looks beautiful flowers there, but she wants to move it in the garden so she can see it better. What's the best time to move it, and what part of the garden would suit it best?
Okay, Ross, do you want to have a go at this one?
Well, I think apart from anything, enjoy the flowers. So let's not go moving it while it's flowering and all of a sudden the flowers wonder what on earth is going on. So autumn, early spring, when it's dormant. It's still quite young, isn't it? So I think it's still okay to move at the moment, like I say, in the dormant season. And then when you do move it, nice bit of compost in the hole to give it a good start. But yeah, certainly still fine to move.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not as if it's 6-7 feet tall. It's quite a compact one. And I think if you get it with a good root ball, then you won't even know it's been moved, and you can put it exactly where you want it and then enjoy it for years to come. So yeah, lovely.
Yeah, we've
got another one.
Oh
wow!
Cordyline. Now, Shell has got a cordyline that seems to just keep growing, but she doesn't want it to get a lot taller. So, the first question is: do they ever stop growing? And maybe what could she do, if anything?
Yeah, and it looks a really healthy specimen, that one, doesn't it? It looks really, really good. Have you ever grown cordyline?
Yes.
Ross? Yeah.
Often choose a cordyline as a centerpiece.
Right.
For
yes.
like I say, tubs and containers. I love planting those kind of things, and often will choose a cordyline to go in them. Have to say they've never got that tall in the middle of a tub.
No.
Thank goodness. But mate, you just have to stand and point your finger at it and say, stop growing.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, but be strict. I mean, that one looks as if it's quite a few years old because it's got that trunk. Because they all start off sort of from ground level with this lovely sort of the leaves growing out, but then eventually it grows and the leaves fall off and creates a trunk, a little bit like a palm tree effect. So it's just going to want to keep growing. I mean, depending on the variety, that will determine the height, but it will always aim for that. It's probably going to go 15, 20 feet, something like that, 6 meters. As you can see, there's not an awful lot you can do on that to prune it. If it were a shrub, we'd say prune it back, but you can't with that. But they do grow from the ground very often if the top is damaged, either in a severe winter, which is probably not likely to happen with you because you're in London, but if you're in an exposed area and the top is killed by the frost, I've seen it where the root survives and it produces a thicket of new growth. And if you were then to chop the stem off, that would make a really bushy plant. And if you wanted to be really, really brave, and I don't think even I'd be brave enough, and I love pruning, you could cut that down to about 30 centimetres and wait and see what happens. But that would be a shame to...
Well, Shell says that she doesn't want it getting any taller.
Well, it would be much shorter.
So it would be an option.
Yeah.
Be brave, and then all that nice bushy growth that you would get at the bottom.
Yeah.
Give you you'd still have your cordyline, but a different display from it.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, that's right. So yeah, you've sometimes got to just go for it. Yeah.
Okay, and then we have a very poorly looking gardenia. It has had months of neglect, and it's spent most of its life in a south-facing sunroom or conservatory. And this is Bernie's. Feels like confession time, Bernie, in Grange over Sands.
Has that got 2 leaves or just one?
So we mustn't laugh.
I do applaud Bernie for being brave enough to send that photo in. Because it looks a little bit worse for wear. I don't want to sound harsh, but I think that might be suited for one place.
Yeah,
is that harsh?
no, it's not harsh. I mean, they love sort of a conservatory atmosphere, light, warmth, humidity, and I normally, when they get to that stage, Bernie, I mean, we're being totally serious now because obviously you're a treasure in this plant, but normally when they get to that stage, they don't recover. So I think really, rather than try and get it back, you'd be better probably investing in a new one, and make sure it never gets chilled, keep them fed. That humidity is what they like, but I don't think that will recover, I'm afraid. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
I believe you agree with me, because I was looking at that thinking, I don't think even Martin Fish could rescue that.
Okay, no, I think it's destined for the compost heap. We've got to give a shout out also to Paul and Joe. Paul is known as AKA the Laughing Gardener. He's from East Yorkshire, and he and Joe do lots of charity work to raise money for really, really good causes. And I know they follow us. We've actually chatted to Paul on the podcast about a year ago. So well done you two for all the work that you do. So what we're going to do now is just take a little break. I'm going to have a wander around the garden with Sean. Then we're going to come back. We're going to answer just a few more questions. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
So we're going to have a wander around now. Well, I thought before we finish and answer those last few questions, we'd just have a little look at the back garden, because you've seen in the greenhouse, you've seen the veg garden, and the back garden is the bit that we did last year. So most of the planting in here is only a year or sort of 14 months old. So when we came here, it was quite overgrown, to be fair. At the back there were lots of shrubs. The conifers came all the way down to the ground. You couldn't really see at all into there. It was very overgrown. There'd been an old pond somewhere here that had been filled in, and there was a big dip in the ground. So we decided that we wanted to leave the conifers, and we took all the lower branches off to create almost a bit like a large bonsai feature in there, but it opened it up so we could plant underneath it. And rather than just planting it all as one really deep border, what we found when we were clearing this ground, and it was overgrown with ivy, we found tons and tons and tons of rockstone that I think had been once a rock garden around the old pond. So rather than throw it away, I hate throwing anything away, we decided that what we would do is we'd actually utilise it. So we've created this border along the front. We wanted nice curved borders in here with a mixture of shrubs in there and perennials, there's spring bulbs, so that hopefully there's something sort of all year round. And then if I put in this little woodland, I don't know whether Sean's lead is long enough to get us, but we've put a little path in the back so you can feel as if you're immersed within the plants. Now bear in mind these were only planted sort of April last year, so they are only just over a year old, but they've all doubled in size in that time. And then under this piece we're planting it with ferns and shade loving plants. Just get a bit dry because as the sun goes round, but they're now getting established, so you feel as if you're sort of walking along this little woodland path to it. And then we've created a little seating area here so I can come and sit here and just look out onto the garden. Again, all reclaimed paving, and we'll plant something in there to sort of hide. And then the planting curves round. So at this time of the year there's quite a bit of colour there with the roses, and we've got salvias in there and the peters. So it's all sort of growing together as we go round. This is the Bramley apple. So Pauline out there in New York has been in touch with her Bramley apple. This is an existing tree. Obviously we haven't planted this. We reckon this is probably 100 years old, and it was very big when we got here. So we've pruned it. There is a video on YouTube of us pruning this to reduce it in height, and then a second one sort of doing a bit of thinning, and it's now sort of getting to a reasonable shape. It's still big, but not as big as it was, and there's a bit more pruning to do. Roses have done really well. The one that Sean's just been looking at is one called Harlow Car, which is a lovely shrub rose. We want to get a few more roses. In fact, I need a bit of advice or help from you, because Jill and I treated herself to this archway. We wanted an archway to get through from one part of the garden to the next, and it's, although it's a beautiful archway, we want to grow something up it. So we're not sure. I fancy roses, some nice roses. Jill thinks of clematis. Somebody suggested honeysuckle. So if you've got any ideas what we can plant up this, then please do send us a message, because I'm hoping to get something planted this summer, get something from one of the flower shows, so that this time next year this will be clothed. So
Wasn't there something we were going to look at?
there was something we were going to look at, and I can't remember what it was. Sean, what was it we were going to look at? Can anybody remember what we were going to look at? Oh yeah, the Pittosporum. We had a question on Pittosporum, which I thought was Tom Thumb, and this is it. This is what it should look like at this time of the year, but in the winter it goes a really, really dark purple colour, and it naturally makes a mound, and I think, I can't remember who the question was from. Anna. I think that's what your shrub should have looked like, looking at the leaf on it. So if it doesn't recover, that's what you need. It's called Pittosporum Tom Thumb. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to go back. We've got Ross waiting to do a few more questions, and then we'll see if there's any more people with questions and shout outs. I don't know about you, Ross, but it's been very dry, hasn't it, this season?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Unbelievably
Because if you've
dry.
got lots of pots and containers, I bet you have to do a lot of watering at night.
It's funny because Eve, my other half, who's also a keen gardener, she says, you don't need to water every day, Ross. You don't need to water every day. And generally you don't, but when it is this warm and it is this dry, particularly the hanging baskets, that they do need a drink. Every day, else they start to look very sorry for themselves.
Yes. Well, we've even noticed it in the garden where things aren't that established, and the soil on the back is fairly well drained in parts, clay in the others, but it just, you know, unless it rains, you water, it doesn't go down. So it's more or less just keeping things ticking over at the minute until it does rain. So it looks good. You know, the roses haven't been dashed, but I do hope it rains. Not for the next 5 minutes though, because we've got a few more questions to answer. So I think there's just a few more. We've got...
Yeah, we've got one here about slugs.
Oh.
And this is from Lena in Nottingham, and Lena feels like she's tried everything. The garden is being devoured by the slugs. They don't want to use a chemical repellent as it's not environmentally friendly. They've tried beer traps, copper, eggshells, coffee, nematodes, and they also have a lot of frogs in the pond. Nothing seems to work. Are there any other options, basically?
Okay, that perennial question, isn't it? Slug damage in the garden.
If you had £1 for every time you'd been asked that question, I always hear that people say if a plant is a healthy plant, then it won't get attacked by slugs. Is there something in that? I think
there is something in that, because they grow in big and vigorous. Yes, but they will still attack them, but they probably won't get as much damage on it. So yes. So what do? I mean, do you get them on your containers? How do you deal with them?
Again, I've kind of been through all the things that Lena has mentioned. The only thing that I do add to that maybe you haven't tried is in a pot, some grit. They don't like the feel of the grit as they crawl across it, so that's an option. Some copper tape, around the pots, because it's supposed to.
And do you find that works? Have you tried it?
Yes, I have used it.
Yeah, and what's the theory? Isn't it to do with the?
They give them a tiny shock.
So as the slug goes up,
over the, so
it gets a bit
you've
of
got
a tingle.
you've got it around the rim of the pot, and as they crawl up the pot, they crawl over and they and they don't like it, and then they
there must be some truth in that. I've never used it on pots, but I've been wearing this copper bangle for about 20 years.
Never had a slug up your arm?
Never.
Funny
never.
that, isn't
it?
So
that obviously does work.
So yeah, hosta pots.
Yes.
Have it on hosta pots. But the other thing that I do, and I don't know if it's the same slug that comes every night, but if it is, then I've found a solution that you go out late at night because that is when they come out.
Yep.
And I have done this. You collect them all up in a bucket, and then you drive them about 3 miles away from your house, and you give them a new home in a piece of grass near a ditch, or in a field, or something like that. Obviously, we've had drier weather, so I have noticed a huge difference. Stuff that they would usually attack straight away hasn't been attacked. But yeah, go out late at night, and you'll find them all doing their business.
They're busy, aren't they? Yes.
They are busy, hard at work.
But you do have to take them away, because if you chuck them over your neighbours,
they'll just come back.
Like homing pigeons, they come
they
back.
do come back.
The other thing you might try as well, Lena, is garlic spray. And some of the commercial hosta growers are using it. So they buy bulbs or cloves of garlic, boil them up till they've sort of gone all soft, and then mosh it up, strain it, and then use that as a concentrate and dilute it down into this garlicky smelling liquid. You'll find some of the hosta growers have their recipe on their website, and then you spray that over the foliage, and it's a deterrent. Doesn't harm the slug, it's a deterrent, and they swear by it, making it work. So good luck, hope you can get on top of them.
Okay, so Nicola in Nottingham has a magnolia tree which she's had for 16 years. It's growing there in a container, but it's turning brown. Can you help?
Oh dear, looks, some of the foliage looks a bit in poor condition, doesn't it?
Has it been in that container for 16 years? Because if it's been in that container for 16 years, I'm going to take a pretty good guess that it's saying, let me free, let me out. If you can, in an ideal world, I would say get it in the ground. Get it in the ground and give it a bit more room to do its business, and then it might look a little bit healthier.
I agree, and I think we've been talking about how warm and dry it's been, Nicola, and you're not that far from us in Nottingham, and it's a good sized shrub. It will drink the moisture in that pot very quickly. You've almost got to be watering it daily and feeding it, because it will use the nutrients quickly. So if you can't get it in the ground, then I would suggest maybe a much bigger pot, so you've got several inches of new fresh compost around it, and you could do that now, that would hopefully help it. And they respond quite well to pruning, so if you find it's a bit leggy, give it a bit of a trim. But sometimes things outlive their life in a pot. This olive tree behind us, just here, which you can't see, but I can see because I'm pointing at it, and Sean will see it any minute now. We've had that since it was a tiny little, almost like a sapling, and it's been in a pot, and it's moved house with us twice, and it got to the point where it just wasn't growing anymore. In fact, it looked to be getting smaller every year because it was so pot bound, and we couldn't get it into a bigger pot. So this year we liberated it, planted it out, probably March. I think we probably did it on one of our Pots and Trowels videos, and in the last month or so, it's really put on a flush of new growth. It was touch and go whether it lived or not, and it's obviously got, it's got loads of flowers coming on as well. So I think this could be the first commercial olive tree in this part of Lincolnshire if we're not careful.
We will watch this space.
So yeah, sometimes you've got to put container plants out. They've outlived their life in a pot. Any more before we finish, folks? Is that it? Are we all done?
No, I'm getting there, but I had to move the camera around.
All right. Sean, you just
give the man a break.
Superman.
Yeah, we have a question from David in Snape in North Yorkshire. So just a quick hello to Snape Garden Club there. He's been growing potatoes for many years, and apart from the odd occasion when blight has struck, he's never had any problems. This year, however, there's a problem in that the foliage isn't as lush as normal, and the ends of the leaves are curling up. The obvious answer is aphids, but there's no sign of them anywhere. The other thought is that it might be the manure that he put into the trench. The neighbour on the next door plot is also experiencing the same problem, but not as bad. Any idea what the problem is, what can be done about it, and will this affect the use of the produce?
Right, so I think, David, you've already answered your question with the word manure. I think you've probably had some contaminated manure that's been infected by a hormone weed killer. So it's not uncommon for hay or straw that's been used for bedding that's been treated with a selective herbicide on a farm that keeps a residue in there, and it doesn't break down in the manure. And when you put it on plants, potatoes are very sensitive, the member of the Solanum family, and that is typically, it causes that distortion. So I suspect that's what it's like. I mean, pretty sure you'll be fine to eat the potatoes. You probably just get a smaller crop, but it's the foliage that it affects. So have you come across that before?
No.
No, it's...
And is that, but I know you say manure, a lot of people will pick it up at the side of the road.
Yeah.
Some people will buy it at a garden centre. Do you think even the stuff you can buy could be affected as well?
Maybe. I mean, it can stay in. I haven't heard of it for a few years. 2 or 3 years ago, it was quite a big problem. And I know there was something on the RHS website about it. But I think the chemical can stay, it's only a minute amount, stay in the manure heap for 2 or 3 years before it sort of breaks down. So I think that's what it is on that one. Because I think, am I right in thinking we've got another question that's also got some damage on the plants as well, which may be a similar thing. It looks very similar.
Yeah, we have Louise from Whitley Bay has some problems with her tomato plants. Some of the top leaves are looking very shriveled. The bottom's fine, but odd at the very top of the plant. She waters regularly. They're in a small and heated greenhouse and doesn't think there's been any dramatic changes in their environment.
And before we answer the question, she listens to the podcast each week. Look at that.
Lovely.
Oh, while she's walking along the seafront. Whitley Bay. I haven't been to Whitley Bay for about 40 years. So we must get back up there, Jill, to Whitley Bay. So we've got these tomato plants. Lower leaves look fine, but then the top leaves have all almost like little rosebuddy curly bits, aren't they? They're horrible.
I'm guessing that it's maybe somebody spraying a weed killer, so it kind of turns into a vapour. So somebody could be spraying an area of weeds close by, and it sort of drifts and hence being on the top of the plant and makes it look unhealthy like it's looking there.
It is, and it's a very similar weed killer to the one that would have been in the manure, but this has gone into the foliage, and it may be somebody has been spraying their lawn for weeds, 2 or 3 doors away, and as Ross says, it vaporizes, and you only need a minute amount. Tomatoes and potatoes are very closely related, so that's the sort of family it attacks. So yes, what I would do is, the foliage below looks healthy, so it's got to a stage when it's affected it. I would cut the damage off down to one of those healthy leaves, and hopefully it will send up a new shoot, and it may recover. So but I would certainly cut the top off, because they will never develop into full leaves. So
One last one from Becky Foster up in North Yorkshire. Where will you be with the potting shed stage next, and do you have a favourite show?
Oh, what a hard question. Well, the next outing with the potting shed stage is actually next week on the 18th and 19th of June. We're at a local show. We're at the Lincolnshire show, which is just up the road from us. So we've got the potting shed stage there. There's a gardening area with 12 nurseries, all sort of RHS gold winning nurseries will be doing displays. And you're going to come along as well for both days to host the Q&A. No, but you're going to be hosting the Q&A, aren't you?
Yeah. So both days, 3:30 in the afternoon, we'll get a nice crowd together in the marquee and answer with you and the panel some gardening questions. So if you are in Lincolnshire, come and see us.
And we're going to be joined by Paula Routledge as well. I don't know if you know Paula, but
Floral Media.
Paula's going to be there. And then after that, Becky, we are going to be at Harlow Car the weekend immediately after that. So we're going to be at Harlow Car for their gardening event, and then we're all over the place after that. Great Yorkshire show in a few weeks as well. So I don't know where you can get the details, on our website, martinfish.com. So I think that's it, isn't it? No more questions.
Just 2 last shout outs. One from Andrea Bradley, who didn't think she could be with us tonight. So hi to Andrea, and Laura in Nottinghamshire as well. Okay, right. And I think that's it. We've exhausted all the questions. I gather there's been some problems with the live streaming. We've had a few messages in to say it's not on all the platforms, or it's gone off. So do apologise. I mean, that's obviously out of our hands. Our technical expert here, Sean, is all over this and doesn't know what's happening. He's still getting a message to say we're going out. So what we've done is we've recorded all of this, so we will put it on. Will it be on later tonight, Sean, possibly?
Well, it sounds like if somebody's hearing this, they've just watched it.
Well, if they're watching it, yeah.
Oh yeah, if you're watching it now, you'll be able to watch it again.
Yeah, you can watch it all again. So it will go out on YouTube and on will it be Facebook as well?
I think we'll put it wherever we
We
want.
can put it where.
Instagram,
So
Facebook,
we do
YouTube, we name it.
we do apologise if you've missed some of it. You're probably quite pleased that you've missed some of it, to be fair. So thank you for all of those people that have been watching there. We do appreciate it. Thank you for all the questions and all the comments that we get from you. Ross, thank you very much for
Absolute
coming
pleasure.
along. I know I've thrown you a bit into the deep end, but I wanted you to come along this evening to be with us. So thank you for that. We do
Really
appreciate it.
appreciate the invite. Thank you so
That's
much.
a pleasure. And of course, as always, we've got to thank our sponsors. So King Seeds down there in Essex and Cobra Garden based in Nottingham, who make a fantastic range of mowers and garden equipment. So thank you for your continued support. And we've got to thank the two behind the camera there, Sean and Jill, who have been eating chocolates, drinking wine, all these things, and we've not even been offered anything.
I know.
No, do you think
Here
might-
we are,
I
just
know.
working hard to
I
the
know.
camera and how the other half
I know.
live. Yeah.
So we'll be back again next week with Pots and Trowels. So join us then. Thank you for watching. Bye.